Hello, you're welcome to another interesting edition of Your Image, reaching you live from the studios of OGTV in Abeokuta. Last week we came with a topic that was very, very interesting. Some say controversial, though quite academic and professional in nature. And that was the NUC's unbundling of mass communication courses to different 7 allied areas. And last week we brought professionals, practitioners, and teachers of mass communication to the studio. They are still very much with me this week, and by demand anyway. From my Randa side, we have a Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, one-time Commissioner for Information, Sports, Culture and Social Welfare in Ogun State, and there's also a Senior Fellow at the Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos. Dr. Fasi, welcome.
Thank you very much, my brother.
And on my immediate left, we have a Senior Lecturer and the Head of Mass Communication Department, Dr. Dele Odunlami from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwe, Ogun State. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Bakena. Good evening, viewers.
And I also have another erudite scholar in the studio, is the Head of Public Relations Unit, Department of Mass Communication, Crescent University, Abeokuta, Ogun State. Mr. Shadi Adebikwe, thank you for joining me on the program this week again.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
To start with, we were talking about unbundling of mass communication, and that was the NUC's regulation a few weeks ago. It has generated different opinions from various stakeholders, from professors, from academics, from stakeholders and practitioners themselves. Dr. Fasi Yusuf, last week you talked about the PR practice per se, and as a professional, how do you think this development will help public relations practice in Nigeria as a teacher of communication and as a veteran public relations practitioner?
Well, in every material particular, practitioners and will-be practitioners will benefit. The quality of public relations delivery will be enhanced. The knowledge will be further expanded. And when you talk about the pedagogy of public relations, when you're teaching public relations, areas that were having little or no attention will now have better attention. And not only that, the depth will be enhanced. Now students will have to dig deeper and deeper to be able to understand the nitty-gritty of public relations, not having public relations scratched on the surface. So, and at the end of the day, the public relations contribution to the society will not only be enhanced, the society will be able to benefit in every imaginable way. In the sense that, look, in terms of a quantitative aspect of public relations, qualitative aspects of public relations, mathematics, and so many other areas of public relations. We're talking about research. Time was when the people just think about people will just write a press release, organize parties and all the rest. Now you need to look at how issues are evolving. What are the implications of then environmental portfolio? You must be able to monitor the environment. How do you predict the consequences of what is happening? Climate change, everything. Because everything has PR implication.
Yeah. So it's all encompassing.
It's all embracing, all encompassing. And by the time you now expose students to all this gamut of learning and all the rest, you now discover that the society will be the better for it. But I was talking about last week. I was talking about, for example, ethics of public relations.
Yes, sir.
How much of defamation does a PR practitioner know in Nigeria today?
That is the law.
How much of plagiarism? How much of content analysis? How much of other areas making up public relations do we really know?
Okay.
So the unbundling is to give fillip to what scholars have been saying, that look, if you want to produce a professional that can stand his ground anywhere, anytime, any day. And we want to raise the quality of public relations to a global level where somebody produced in Nigeria, a graduate of public relations in Nigeria, will be able to stand shoulder high with his contemporary elsewhere. And that was the whole essence. Now you can Google and say, look, okay, you audited all these courses while you were in the university. Okay, the same thing we did. And they can be transferred from one university to the other. Right now, we have cacophony of voices in respect to this, all these programs and all the rest, to the extent that somebody from Olabisi Odoba University, 200 levels to know, want to transfer to University of Lagos, it will be difficult. But with the unbundling, it will be easy because we'll be offering the same syllabus.
So cross-fertilization of ideas.
Yes, will be more pronounced.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Odulami, you mentioned the pedagogy of this particular development that we're talking about. Now let's go to the content. Are institutions ready for the content of this pedagogy just mentioned now, so that we can, at least, we can live up to the expectation?
Yeah, you should know that part of the rationale behind the unbundling itself is this point of comparative advantage, or this specialization. When you do a thing over and over, I mean, you become an expert in that field. You discover that being an offshoot of technological development, the question of public relations or any other fields hitherto that were bundled to be in mass communication, lumping things together will no longer be the case. Now we talk about disruptive innovation, all over the place now. You discover that the public relations practitioner of today is no longer fashioning out a message for a general audience. Is packaging a message for a specific diversified, a specific, and I would call it atomized audience, nucleated audience, audience that is derived along the side of a particular message, and the medium that will be used to even get that message to the destination to will have to be specially identified, and the psychology of the medium itself has to be really understood. I mean, today we're talking about social media. A lot of the communication we do today are in the social media realm, digital communication. Yes. And you now discover that all these are the kind of things that will now form, the sequences that will earn somebody a degree in public relations. That's one beautiful part of it. Another angle we should look at it is in terms of effectiveness of delivery, in terms of the competence of the people so certificated.
You mean the students?
Yes, the recipients of that, the knowledge that is unbundled. You now discover that you are a professional in your own right. The Public Relations Association that have been trying a hell of work to weed the profession of quacks or people who crash into it, you have less burden, because you are looking for certificated products who have undergone courses of instruction for a specified period and can deliver the good. So the fact that I was a journalist or I've been this and that will no longer count, because the specific requirements are there. So that in a nutshell, what we're saying now is that specialization will deepen our professional knowledge of the field. And we are, if the policy is implemented to the letter, we will discover that the society will be better for it. So even in public relations, you discover that there are other areas too that you now think that even this degree too needs to be further atomized. Reputation management, perception. We're in the age of perception, public opinion. There are people who operate themselves now on social media as social influencers. Yes. What do? They package, their clients for public acceptability, and the message that is so packaged has a specified audience that they target it through, depending on the medium they are using. All these are the content that will be packaged into the emerging curriculum that we are so much anxious to begin to work on. And I think it's for
thank you very much. You're still watching Your Image from the station, and we're still continuing from where we stopped last week, NUC's unbundling of mass communication from various institutions, and what is the implication on PR practice in Nigeria. And that is what we are discussing today on the program. Mr. Ashadi Ademigwe, last week you shared a sentiment on the quality of graduates being shunned out of tertiary institutions, mass communication per se. And many did not even pass through mass communication, but they find themselves in public relations, meaning that some of them are quacks, as the case may be. Now, with this unbundling, do you think it will improve the quality of the PR practice in Nigeria?
Yes, because that is one of the advantages that you can derive from the unbundling of mass communication. Is the training of this profession will be more focused. You see, in the sense that they have always been dabbling into one area or the other and not even focusing on the aspect of the profession. You see, and then what we call professionalism will be more pronounced. I was discussing with some of our students last year. We were discussing news release and press release. And many of us were saying, okay, most of the news releases that we have nowadays are being written in journalistic style. Whereas public relations has a special way, of course, of writing a news release. You see, just like I told you, a journalist's job is just to go and gather facts, process the facts, and then develop a new story to be disseminated. And he is time constrained. He doesn't do much of investigation. For public relations, just like I told you, we don't just disseminate information, but we disseminate factual information. No comment, no detail, nothing. We remove details. We only publish the facts. Public relations, journalism will publish anything just to explain. And another thing is that our dissemination is focused. Journalism would address the general public. Public relations will just develop, will address publics, just identify the individuals, groups, and so on. And the message will focus on this. But that one is eroded now. When we issue a press release nowadays, we issue it to the general public, not to the publics of public relations. And that is eroded the reason behind the issuance of public relations.
Sir, let me interject before I go to Dr. Fasis for my next question. These days, most publications practitioners rather write their stories the way they want it in the press.
Okay.
So that they won't be labeled journalists or somebody. I don't want to say that they lay back on their responsibility. Most of the PR people, they write the story and they send to them and they use.
That is what we are reputed for. As a public relations practitioner, you should write that which, even if the editor is going to modify it at all, it just minute modification.
If I may just
quickly do that, sir.
You discover that maybe because of my background too in journalism before academics, the fact remains that there's a meeting point. Okay. The public relations man is disseminating information from the angle of his client or principal.
Yes.
The journalist is looking for news on the angle of what is in public interest. So it's a competition. You are pushing your sponsored message. The professional journalist is looking for what to be in the overall interest. So it depends on the competence of each of you. So, and I see that a good journalist is one who will take the initial the press release as just a kind of clue for him now to be a basis for further research and investigation to do something that will be worthwhile. Not that you just take it and paragraph and paste. That's not the...
Okay.
Now, in this era of digitalization,
yes,
and the social media, you find out that there are so many modifications that are now evolving. And just like Dr. Fasi Yusuf said, we have to follow the international trend. What is going on? You should be able to compete favorably with any practitioner anywhere in the whole world. And that is exactly what this unbundling is trying to bring into place.
So, Dr. Fasi, if I may speak the minds of Nigerian undergraduates who are studying mass communication, the NUC has spoken via stakeholders in the industry. I mean, scholars who at least who met with NUC so that this thing can see the light of the day. Some of them may be skeptical. Is it going to be possible? How soon will it take off?
Well, if I bring in the issue of change management,
Yes, sir.
when you are trying to introduce a change, there are some who have been benefiting from the old system. They will not want it to see the light of the day. There are some sitting on the fence that wanting to see, will it be or will it not be? And there are some that are outrightly and dramatically opposed to that change. So, but in this particular case, no institution has a choice. The choice before institutions now is for them to look at their competitive advantage.
Exactly.
Look at where they can really perform. No NUC cannot force any institution to embark on the 7 programs
at once.
At a time.
at a go.
Okay.
As like Dele said, it's contingent upon certain parameters, certain criteria being met. For example, now, what is the personnel available? What about the facilities? You want to run a journalism program? Do you have a printing press? Do you have computers? Do you have the technology
That are required.
that are required? You want to run a PR program? Do you have a PR studio? Can you really expose them to the practical aspect outside? How far can you engage those in the industry? Are you able to meet the criteria to be set by the Nigerian Stock Corporations? If it is advertising, ditto. If it is broadcasting, you have the National Broadcasting Commission, you have the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, and you have other bodies. So if it is multimedia, then you have this. So nobody will be forced, but all they are saying is that don't award a degree called mass communication. But you can award a degree in public relations and advertising depending on the facilities, and that will be subject to accreditation. They have to accredit, they have to come, inspect your facilities and all that, and give it go ahead, start 2, start 3. But it will be difficult for any institution as it is now, unless maybe University Lagos State University that already started the program, or BUK, Bayero University. They can start with 5 or 6 and all the rest. So you also Lagos, because I know that, I mean, where I'm a senior fellow, where we have a printing press, we have radio, we have television, we have studios, the advertising studio, we have PR studio. So the other issue is the personnel. Do you have the personnel? Some of us might be lucky, some of us who are lecturers, we might be lucky because we'll be able to traverse some of this gamut. Some of us started as a journalist, we went to PR, marketing, management. We might be able to, for example now, some of the courses that I run, there's no way you not talk about ethics. There's no way you not talk about law. And I'm also a lawyer. So, organizations will now have to start preparing students to be able to meet the demands of, or the dictates of the unbundling.
Thank you very much. Let me go to Dr. Odulami. They said they want to merge the town with the gown, meaning that those practitioners in the field will be allowed to come into the classroom to teach, and vice versa. How feasible?
Of course, it's very feasible. I mean, that has been the tradition anyway. You discover that, okay, thank God Dr. Yusuf is here. He's a fellow at UNILAG. And I'm very, I mean, you know Dr. Yusuf made his mark even as a practitioner long time before he got some of these things. Now, the mass communication generally in the old order, you know, we had this relationship that encouraged the professionals, the veterans, to also interface with the academics, such that we even have an association that is bringing the two together. I mean, it's SPN.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
I mean, so
Association of Communication
yes.
Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria.
So that one is a reality we cannot dodge. The only advantage that I want to add now is the fact that prior to this time, professional bodies like the NIPR, APCON, and what have you, have been agitating to accredit courses on their own, and they've met resistance one way or the other from universities because they see this as duplication of effort. But with this unbundling, you discover that it's not going to be possible solely for academics to be in charge of accreditation. For public relations, you need to bring NIPR on board. For advertising, you need to bring APCON on board. Ditto for journalism, you need NUJ, and then some other requisite professional bodies. So that's another advantage that will further enhance, the marriage of the professionals, and then the academics, as the case may be.
So if I may just add, it is imperative that we professionals, we continue to update our skills.
Exactly.
The knowledge we acquired 30, 40, 50 years ago
are
no longer relevant.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, are no longer relevant today. So if you are a professional and you also want to intercede or intervene in the academics, you must also have the knowledge,
yes, exactly,
the requisite knowledge.
Exactly.
I remember some 20 years ago, I was an adjunct lecturer in OOU. Yes. I also transferred to University of Lagos. You go to a stage when you said, anybody wanting to be a fellow or even a senior adjunct must have registered for a PhD or must have possessed a PhD degree. What that is saying is that, yes, you have the knowledge, you have the practical experience, but you also need the intellectual content. And that is why it's going to make it a whole lot of goodness.
Yeah, thank you. Let me quickly take the final one from Mr. Adibingbe. Now the industry is going to be more robust with this unbundling. I mean, public relations industry. Okay. So what is your advice for those who are practicing now so that they can meet up with the challenge that we have now?
Yes, just like we are now thinking of even bringing professionals from outside, because they have the field experience, and so if the NUC will allow them maybe to even have an inroad into the university, even to train some of our students, although we allow them to go on this CWES program where they have maybe about
industrial
3 months
knowledge
of industrial knowledge and so on, of what they can learn. But we can still make the program more flexible, you see, by bringing in practitioners. That, you see, that will give it more meaning, meaningful. So just like you said, we should have to update, you see, our knowledge. What is obtained in the world now? What is going on in the world? The world outside is moving very fast, and we have to keep, you see, abreast of the situation in the world. And just like we were talking about maybe the taking off of this program, I think NUC is flexible about it. You can start with whatever you have now. You see, the resources and the facilities you have around. Some of the lecturers we have now, we can take care of some of the programs. You see, I mean, some of the courses. For instance, now, I develop and I trained on advertising. I can lecture, even though public relations is my core something, but I can still teach advertising. So I can lecture in the advertising department.
So a take home from Dr. Dilo Lami, quickly.
Yes, just like we have agreed here, the point remains that both the students and then the teachers have, challenges in the emerging circumstance we have. The need for training and retraining. Is a lazy teacher and outdated teacher that will still rely on the knowledge of even 3 years ago with the speed of innovation that is coming now. So I want to advise our colleagues to wake up to the challenge and let's retrain ourselves so that we can give back to the people who will take over from us.
All right.
You know, as
5 seconds,
professionals.
Dr. Fasiso, because of
The
time.
society requires men and women who are ready to pursue knowledge and acquire knowledge and deliver.
Thank you very much. My guests have been very, very wonderful. They have been able to demystify this discourse today on bundling of mass communication by the National Universities Commission and the implications for public relations practice. I want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Fasi Adetokunbo Yusuf for being part of your image this week.
My pleasure.
And of course, Dr. Dili Odunlami, I want to say a very big thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
And Mr. Shadi Adibimpe, your contributions have added value to the program today.
Thank you very much.
Until we'll meet next week for another interesting edition of Your Image, I say God bless my country, Nigeria. See you next week.